Welcome to an interview in history, where imagination meets reality. In this episode, we bring you an imaginary interview, but with real people and real facts. While the conversation you're about to hear is a creative reimagining, every detail, every event, and every quote is grounded in truth. It's a different way to explore real stories, and we can't wait for you to experience it. Today on An Interview in History, we're honored to speak with the legendary Colonel Harlan Sanders, the man who turned a secret recipe into a global empire. This interview takes place on April 21st, 1980. Colonel, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you kindly. Glad to be here. Though I'd rather be back in the kitchen frying up a batch of chicken.
Let's start at the beginning. You were born in 1890 in Indiana. What was your childhood like?
Hard, mostly. I was the oldest of 3 children. My little brother and sister relied on me a lot after my father died. I was just 6 when he passed. Stomach fever, I believe. Mama had to take in work, so I was the one cooking and looking after the others most days. I was the oldest of 3 children born to Wilbur David and Margaret Ann Sanders. My mother was of Irish and Dutch descent. My father was a mild and affectionate man who worked his 80-acre farm until he broke his leg in a fall. He then worked as a butcher in Henryville for 2 years. My mother was a devout Christian and strict parent, continually warning her children of the evils of alcohol, tobacco, gambling, and whistling on Sundays. My father died in 1895, so my mother got work in a tomato cannery. By the age of 7, I became skilled with bread and vegetables and improving with meat. My siblings and I foraged for food while our mother was away at work for days at a time. After some time, my mother married Edward Park, but by 1900, I believe, my mother was widowed again. In 1902, my mother married William Broadus, and the family moved to Greenwood, Indiana. But I had a tumultuous relationship with my stepfather, so in 1903, at 12, I dropped out of 7th grade and went to live and work on a nearby farm. At 13, I left home and took a job painting horse carriages in Indianapolis. When I was 14, I moved to southern Indiana to work as a farmhand.
So, you started cooking young.
Real young. I learned to make bread and vegetables by 7. I could cook meat by 10. That's how we ate. Wasn't fancy, but it was honest food.
What about school?
School and I didn't get along too well. I dropped out by the 7th grade. I just couldn't sit still. Had to work to help Mama, so I did anything I could. Farming, painting signs, blacksmithing, you name it.
Were you ever married? And if you did, were there children?
Yes, sir. I was married. I wed Josephine King in 1909. I was just 19 years old at the time. We had 3 children together, a son, Harlan Jr., and 2 daughters, Margaret and Mildred. Now, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't always easy. My work kept me moving and struggling, and that put a strain on the family. Josephine and I eventually separated in 1940. I later married Claudia. She was my partner, not just in life, but in business too. She helped me run the restaurant and believed in the chicken as much as I did. Family meant a lot to me, even if I didn't always get it right. I tried to do better with time, like everything else in life.
Did you always know you'd end up in the food business?
Not at all. I did a little of everything. Railroad worker, insurance salesman, filling station operator, even practiced law for a spell without a law degree. Got into a scrap with a client, and that ended that career.
Is it true that you lied to get into the military?
What I did was I falsified the date of my birth and enlisted in the United States Army in October 1906 at 16. Completing my service commitment as a Teamster in Cuba while being awarded the Cuban Pacification Medal, I was honorably discharged in February 1907. You know what? Let's go back a little bit and tell me more about your experience as a lawyer. Well, I began to practice law in Little Rock, which I did for 3 years, earning enough in fees from my family to move with me. But my legal career ended after a courtroom brawl with my own client destroying my reputation. This period represented a low point for me as I had encountered repeated failure largely through my own bullheadedness, a lack of self-control, impatience, and a self-righteous lack of diplomacy. Never thought it'd make me a living, though. Not until much later. When did that start to change? In the 1930s, I ran a service station down in Corbin, Kentucky during the Great Depression. Folks stopped for gas, so I started serving meals out of my own dining room. Fried chicken, ham, biscuits, mashed potatoes. I recognized the potential of the restaurant franchising concept, and the first KFC franchise opened in South Salt Lake, Utah in 1952. My original restaurant closed. I devoted myself full-time to franchising my fried chicken throughout the country. Word got around. Soon enough, people were stopping more for the chicken than the gas. That's where you developed your famous recipe? That's right. Took me years to perfect it. 11 herbs and spices. Still a secret, even now. I wanted chicken that was crisp on the outside, juicy on the inside, and didn't take forever to make. That's when I discovered the pressure fryer. It was faster and kept all the flavor. Did you ever have anyone try to steal your ideas and recipe? Oh, absolutely, more than once. Anytime you got something people like, there's always someone trying to copy it or cut corners. The tricky part was, I never wrote down the whole recipe in one place. Those 11 herbs and spices? I kept them split up, mixed in separate batches and real hush-hush. Some folks tried to guess it. Some even claimed they had it, but none of them ever quite nailed it. And I could tell. I'd taste their chicken and know right away, nope, not mine. But to me, it wasn't just about the spices. It was about how you cooked it, how you treated the customer, how you ran your place. The whole package. That's what made it special. I always said, if you're going to do it right, or don't do it at all. And believe me, I made sure the people using my name did it right, or I'd let them hear about it. That was the start of Kentucky Fried Chicken? Not officially. That came later. After the war, I had a little restaurant going, but when the highway was rerouted in the 50s, I lost most of my traffic. I was in my 60s, broke, with just a Social Security check. But I believed in that chicken, so packed up, started driving around the country, frying chicken in diners and cafes, trying to get folks to franchise it. And it worked. Slowly. The first real franchise was Pete Harmon in Utah in 1952. After that, it spread. I'd show up in a white suit, go to the kitchen, cook my chicken, and if folks liked it, I'd shake their hands and make a deal. That's how it went. You sold the business eventually. What was that like? I did. In 1964, I was 73. Sold it for $2 million, but I kept the rights in Canada and stayed on as the face of the company. They called me the Colonel, so I leaned into it. The suit, the goatee, the whole look. But I never stopped caring about the food. I still visit restaurants to make sure the chicken was up to my standards. Did you have regrets about selling? I won't lie. Sometimes. I was critical of some of the changes they made. I cared about the quality, but I also knew I couldn't do it alone forever. I did what I could, and the rest, well, that's up to the people eating it. Then what have you done after selling? Well, after I sold Kentucky Fried Chicken in 1964, I didn't just sit back and rock on a porch swing. That's not my style. I stayed on as the brand ambassador. Traveled all over the world. Canada, Japan, Australia, you name it. Shaking hands, cutting ribbons, and making sure folks knew the Colonel was still watching. But I also stayed sharp on the chicken. I visited franchisees unannounced to taste the food. If it wasn't up to snuff, I'd speak my mind. Sometimes too blunt for the company's liking, but I didn't care. My name was on that sign. I owed it to the customer. Now, my wife Claudia and we also opened a little place of our own in Shelbyville, Kentucky. Claudia Sanders, the Colonel's Lady. That was her restaurant, but it had my touch. I like being back in the kitchen now and then. And, truth be told, I spent a lot of my time telling my story, sharing advice, and just trying to live honest. Even after the business was gone, I still wore the white suit every day. That wasn't for show. It was who I'd become. I may have sold the company, but I never stopped being the Colonel. How do you want to be remembered? As the man who didn't quit. I was down and out more than once, but I kept getting back up, and I gave people something good to eat along the way. That's not a bad legacy. Colonel Sanders, thank you. Your story is one of grit, flavor, and fried chicken. A true American tale. My pleasure. Now, how about we go grab a bite? Sanders was diagnosed with acute leukemia in June 1980. He died at Jewish Hospital in Louisville of pneumonia 6 months later, on December 16th, at the age of 90. Sanders had remained active until a month before his death, appearing in his white suit to crowds. His body was laid in state in the rotunda of the Kentucky State Capitol in Frankfort after a funeral service at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary Chapel, which was attended by more than 500 people. His body was also displayed in an open casket during a memorial service that was held at KFC's headquarters in Louisville. About 1,000 to 1,200 people attended the service. Sanders was buried in his characteristic white suit and black western string tie in Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville. His wife Claudia died on December 31st, 1996, at the age of 94. By the time of Sanders' death, there was an estimated 6,000 KFC outlets in 48 countries worldwide, with $2 billion in sales annually. And now, another forgotten history. The Coca-Cola Bottling Company in Marietta, Georgia, circa 1910, reflects the early days of soft drink distribution, when the beverage was still in its infancy as a mass-produced product. Before large-scale bottling plants and efficient transportation, Coca-Cola was often delivered in wooden wheelbarrows, a labor-intensive process requiring employees to transport cases of the drink by hand. This method, while functional, was highly impractical for a company that was rapidly expanding. By 1910, the company had acquired its first delivery wagon, marking a major step forward in its distribution capabilities. Horse-drawn wagons, typically painted with Coca-Cola's recognizable red and white branding, allowed for larger deliveries to local retailers, soda fountains, and general stores. The shift from wheelbarrows to wagons signified the brand's growth and the increasing demand for bottled Coke outside traditional soda fountains. With the wagon, bottlers could now transport hundreds of bottles at a time, bringing the refreshing drink to more customers across Marietta and beyond. At this time, Coca-Cola was still bottled in straight-sided glass bottles, before the iconic contour design introduced in 1915. The company was rapidly expanding its reach, licensing independent bottlers across the U.S. to handle local production and delivery. The sight of Coca-Cola wagons rolling through towns became a familiar image, a testament to the brand's innovative marketing and logistic strategies. This period laid the foundation for Coca-Cola's transformation into a global soft drink empire, proving that even humble beginnings, like deliveries by wheelbarrow, could evolve into a worldwide phenomenon. Join us next week for something a little different. We'll be talking with Benjamin Franklin,
one of our nation's founding fathers, but with a twist. One of our listeners suggested that we talk to a prominent figure, but with 2025's thinking. Should be interesting. Until then, take care.